Hello everybody, welcome back. In the last video we attached authentication to our server. So now we have authenticated routes and not authenticated routes. We have an API that works, a client that works. Of course, those two are not attached quite yet, but we'll eventually get to that. I want to step back from that sort of stuff and let's start doing a little bit of Docker. The very first thing we need to do in order to do Docker is we actually need to get Docker installed, because I don't believe we ever actually did that. Let's go ahead and verify. Fairly certain we did not. Yes, we did not install Docker. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our README. Let's create our first note. Installing Docker. The reason why I'm doing this is because Docker, it's can be somewhat frustrating a little bit. But if you just follow these simple steps, I think that it'll be a lot easier for you. And those simple steps I will put right here. You know what? Let's actually do it in the make file. Even though I've had trouble with it working in make files, let's just go ahead and add it here. So we'll do this. So let's say install Docker. We'll say this, of course, is assuming, assuming some form of Ubuntu/Debian, ... right? Okay. If you have like a Mac OS or something else, you're going to follow different steps. Let me show you where to get that in case you don't have, you're not running Ubuntu. So we'll say docker ce install. So if you go to their website right here, you can just go look at different ways to install. They have, Mac OS, this sort of Microsoft Windows. This is a pretty good tutorial right here. And in fact, I'm actually going to put that in the README. So that way, when I push this code up, you guys can have access to that link. And we're basically going to follow this steps slightly modified, because there's a couple steps that actually won't work unless you're running Ubuntu. So if you're running another distro like I'm running Mint, one of the steps here will not work. So because of that, we're going to do a slight modification. So first thing we're going to do is make sure that our system is up to date. So sudo apt update, and then we also want to install any packages that are required. So install the ones that are apt transport HTTPS, and then we need the CA certificates, and then it's always nice to have curl, software properties common. Okay, now we're going to use that curl package to get data. SSL HTTPS download.docker.com Linux Ubuntu GPG. We're going to pipe that into apt key add. There we go. Once it's been added, we're going to add their unique key. So apt key fingerprint. And that is 0EBFCD88. Oh man, the problem with this stuff is even little mistakes are cause you to not work. So these probably 4 or 5 steps of here, you probably just want to copy paste, but this here is a step that we're going to modify a little bit. So if you want to copy paste down to right here, go ahead. Just because I know this is like painful to type out. Okay, so we're going to do sudo add apt repository deb arch for us AMD64 and HTTPS download.docker.com Linux Ubuntu. So real quick, this is the part that causes problems. If you're on Linux Mint, you actually need to use Xenial, even though you're not actually using that. I don't know exactly why it doesn't work, but unless you use Xenial, it will not work. So just a quick note, I'm not sure why that is. And this is a Linux Mint 18.3. So it will tell you, if you actually run this command, here I'll show you. If you actually grab the release note from your operating system right here, you will get Sylvia. If you use Sylvia, it will not work. So I'm not sure why that is with Mint, but I've struggled with that so many times. Just use Xenial. It just works. Okay. And then we now need to update our package manager here, because we got a new. We're actually going to add a -y here and a -y up here as well, and -y over here, because we already know this is okay. Update our package manager so that way we have this new package that will be available here in a second. Now we need to actually install it. So sudo apt install docker ce, and we also are going to need docker compose as well, because later on we'll use that. And then sudo add group system docker. Okay, sudo add user docker. So this is sort of like escaping the $sign there. So in make, so in bash you can just do .user, it'll grab your username, but you'll see here that the $sign is an escape. So it's escaping the you'll actually get $ser, which is nothing. There's no variable in your bash called that unless you set something like that. So that's why we do the double $sign. Okay. And then we need to do new group docker. Okay, and then these last two statements, one of them will fail. It just depends on where Docker is installed. So I just like to put both in there because it depends on where it's installed. Like for example, if you use an Ubuntu EC2 instance on AWS, it's going to be etc apt, where on Linux Mint it's var run. So just put both, so you can just run this command anywhere. Sudo change owner to user, which is us, user, etc var, apt, excuse me, I just said that and I messed it up. Apt, and then docker.sock, and then sudo change owner user var run docker.sock. Okay, so now we should be able to just run this command, and it should hopefully just work, even though I've had trouble with this before. Usually I just do these manually, because for whatever reason, this is the one script I have a hard time with, but let's go ahead. Another solution actually would be to put this in a bash script, which I might end up doing at some point, make it a little bit easier, but anyway. So make install docker. Wait, am I on the right? Oh, make install docker. Use my password, super secret, and now we wait. Shouldn't take too long. It's actually pretty quick. It's almost done. Come on. Oh, it's 19 megs. This might take a second because my internet here isn't very good. 21 seconds. So we'll wait through it. I won't pause the video. Docker CE CLI. So that's good. This is we got farther than sometimes you get when I get the error. You get this weird apt add repository list. The problem is it seems like sometimes it's intermittent. I can't like replicate it every time, so it's hard to show you. If you do encounter that, then I suggest go and removing this key and stuff, and then just rerunning it again. Yeah. Anyway, you'll see. Yep, Docker group already exists. That's okay. And then everything else should just work. So let's go ahead and do Docker run hello world. That's a good sign. Unable to find, and good. Hello from Docker. Okay, so Docker's installed. So this make actually worked this time. That's good. Good. Okay, so now let's create our first. Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna stop the video now. We'll just call this installing Docker, and then we'll go on from there. Let's make sure that Docker Compose is also installed, and it is. Okay. Well, thanks guys for this video, and I will see you in the next one.